Welcome to another episode of HR Game Changers. Today we're diving deep into the future of hiring. And to help us navigate this, we have Louisa, our resident expert on all things talent acquisition.
Happy to be here.
So we're going to be looking at an article called Next Gen Hiring, The Trends Revolutionizing Recruitment in 2025 by Brett Beauchamp Russell. Before we jump into the specifics, what are your initial thoughts on this, Louisa?
Well, it's fascinating to see how much emphasis is being placed on the need for HR to adapt and shape the future. It's really about leading the charge, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Yeah.
about being proactive, not reactive. And I think one of the things we can't ignore is this whole rise of remote and hybrid work. It's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah, not at all.
How do you see this impacting hiring in the next few years?
Well, I think we need to be thinking outside of our traditional geographical boxes, right? We need to tap into a much wider global talent pool. And that means really investing in technology
Yeah.
that supports this seamless remote collaboration and having really clear policies
Mhm.
that address the needs of remote workers, especially those that are, international.
It's not as simple as just saying, hey, we're remote first,
Yeah,
and then figuring it out later, is it?
definitely not.
You have time zones, cultural differences, legal considerations even.
Exactly. And I think that ties into another really important trend, which is this shift from, DEI as just a buzzword
Right.
to being an actual core value.
Mm.
This is about creating a workplace where everyone feels, welcome, respected, and empowered to contribute their unique perspectives.
Yeah, and it's not just a feel-good thing, right? I mean, there's evidence that shows that diverse teams are more innovative, better equipped to understand diverse customer bases.
Absolutely.
So it makes good business sense.
For sure.
So what advice does the article offer on actually building a more inclusive hiring process?
Well, there are a couple of things. They talk about using standardized questions and diverse hiring panels to help to mitigate bias.
Okay.
Also, crafting inclusive job descriptions that appeal to a wider range of candidates. And then finally, really investing in training to address unconscious bias in decision making.
That's such a critical piece, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about something that I always find really exciting, and that's AI and automation. It feels like we're on the cusp of some major shifts in how these technologies can streamline and enhance recruitment. What are your thoughts?
Oh, it's incredibly exciting. AI can be, really a game changer for efficiency, right? So imagine using AI to screen resumes, source candidates, even schedule interviews.
Yeah.
This frees up recruiters to focus on things like, building relationships and strategic initiatives.
That sounds like a dream, but I do wonder, are there potential downsides? Could we become too reliant on AI and in doing so dehumanize the hiring process? What do you think?
I think it's a valid concern for sure. We need to strike a balance, right? AI should enhance the candidate experience. It should not replace the human element. So think of it more as, AI-powered chatbots that can provide instant answers to candidate questions or offer, helpful resources and guidance.
Right, so leveraging technology to improve the process, but not to eliminate that human connection entirely.
Exactly.
Speaking of connection, that leads nicely into the topic of employer branding, right? I mean, in today's, information age, candidates are researching company culture, values, reputation before they even apply.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the tables have turned.
Yeah.
Companies are now being interviewed
Totally.
by potential candidates.
Yeah.
So the article suggests things like showcasing company culture through things like social media, employee testimonials, and really having a consistent message across all your platforms.
So it's about authenticity and transparency, right? Showcasing the real people and the real experiences that make up a company's culture.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, another interesting shift that I've noticed is this emphasis on skills over formal qualifications.
Yeah.
It feels like, companies are realizing that a degree doesn't always tell the whole story.
Right.
It doesn't reflect someone's true capabilities or their potential.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it becomes more about what can you do, right? Not necessarily where did you go to school.
Yeah.
And this opens doors to a much more diverse talent pool.
For sure.
The article recommends incorporating things like, skills-based assessments into the hiring process, and then also emphasizing continuous training programs to keep employees' skills sharp and adaptable.
Yeah, I love that focus on continuous learning.
Yes,
It really speaks to a culture of development and recognizing potential.
absolutely.
And we can't talk about hiring without talking about the candidate experience, right?
Of course not.
I mean, every interaction from the moment someone applies when they're onboarded, it should be positive.
It should be seamless.
Seamless, yeah.
Yeah.
Put yourself in the shoes of the candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want a user-friendly application process, you want clear communication,
Mm-hmm.
and you want a personalized onboarding experience.
Absolutely.
It's all about making a good impression,
Yes.
setting the stage for a positive working relationship.
So things like a, streamlined mobile-friendly application, prompt communication, and a really personalized onboarding experience are highlighted in the article.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So all of this is great, but it can also feel really overwhelming to keep up with all of these changes, right?
Can.
What role can data play in helping organizations make, informed decisions and actually optimize their hiring process?
Well, I think data analytics is essential here.
Okay.
Tracking metrics like time to hire, cost per hire, and candidate satisfaction can really give you some great insights into what's working and what needs improvement.
So you're using data to measure what matters,
Yes.
identify bottlenecks,
Yes.
really
Yeah.
look at the return on investment for all of your efforts.
Absolutely.
Okay, I like that.
And, the article even suggests, using predictive analytics to kind of anticipate future hiring needs.
Now that's thinking ahead.
Exactly. And to potentially identify candidates proactively.
So you're ahead of the curve. You've got this pipeline of qualified candidates ready to go.
You're ready.
Love it. Now, with all this talk about data and technology, we can't forget the human side of this, right? We talked about a positive candidate experience, but what about employee well-being? It seems like this is becoming a much bigger factor in attracting and retaining talent.
It's huge. Organizations are really starting to understand that link between employee well-being and productivity and engagement and retention.
It's not just about, ping pong tables and free snacks anymore.
No.
It's about fostering a culture where people feel supported, valued, and really empowered to bring their best selves to work.
So things like flexible work arrangements, having robust wellness programs, and really creating a culture of open communication are really important.
They're not just nice to haves anymore.
Not at all. They're essential.
They're essential. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful so far, Louisa. You've given us a really great overview of some of the key trends that are shaping the future of hiring. But before we move on, I want to touch on something that's become increasingly relevant, and that is this whole gig economy thing.
Right.
More and more people are choosing to freelance, choosing contract work. How do organizations adapt to that and tap into this growing pool of talent?
It's about recognizing that freelance workers, they're valuable assets.
Mm.
They have, unique skills and perspectives. They're not just temporary fillers.
Right. You got to treat them with the same respect and consideration as you would any other employee.
Precisely. So things like offering flexible contracts, making sure project scopes are really clear, and then, ensuring timely payment are all really important.
You also have to think about how you integrate those freelance workers into your teams and your existing workflows.
Absolutely.
Make sure they have the support they need.
Yeah. Seamless integration.
Seamless integration. There it is.
Yeah.
Organizations that can figure this out, I think they're going to have a real advantage in the years to come.
They will.
Okay, lastly, there's this growing expectation for companies to be, committed to sustainability and ethics, particularly in their hiring practices. And it feels like, these values are becoming more and more important to candidates.
They're non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Especially for younger generations.
Yeah, so it's not enough to just say, we care about sustainability and ethics. You actually have to show
You
it.
have to walk the walk.
Walk the walk, yeah.
So integrating sustainable practices into every aspect of the business is key.
Yeah.
From hiring to operations.
And being transparent.
Yes.
And accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. Candidates want to work for organizations that align with their values.
Yeah.
So transparency is key.
This has been a fantastic overview, Louisa. I feel like we've really covered a lot of ground here. You've painted a really clear picture of the trends shaping the future of hiring.
Yeah, it is fascinating to see how all these trends they're all coming together to create a much more human-centric approach to hiring.
I agree. It's not just about filling roles anymore, is it?
No, not at all.
It's so much more than that. And I think one of the key takeaways here is that candidate experience really is everything.
Right.
Organizations really need to think differently, shift their mindset, and consider the candidate experience at every single step
From the very beginning.
from the very beginning. So starting with that application itself, how easy is it to navigate? Is it mobile friendly? Are
Right.
you asking for only the information that you absolutely need?
You want to make it as, as seamless and engaging as possible because a really cumbersome, clunky application process is a huge deterrent for a lot of people.
Totally, totally. And then once somebody applies, communication, communication, communication.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to be left hanging, wondering what's happening.
Even just a simple email acknowledging receipt of their application
Yeah.
can go a long way.
Yeah.
It just shows respect for the candidate's time and effort.
Right, because ghosting candidates, that's just a recipe for damaging your employer brand.
Absolutely.
People talk,
They do.
and those negative experiences can spread like wildfire.
Especially online.
Yeah.
And, even if a candidate isn't selected, providing some constructive feedback
Yeah.
can be so valuable.
It can.
Because, again, it shows you value their time.
Yeah.
You're invested in their professional development.
It can turn a potentially negative experience into a positive one.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say you've hired somebody, you've made the offer, they've accepted. Now you've got to onboard them.
Right. And onboarding.
Talk to me about onboarding.
Personalization is so important.
Okay.
Gone are the days of the generic welcome packets and these one-size-fits-all training programs.
Yeah, it needs to be tailored. Right.
Yeah.
You want that new hire to feel valued,
Yes.
to feel supported from day one.
Absolutely. Set them up for success.
Yeah.
Make them feel like they're part of the team.
So really tailoring that onboarding experience to the individual, their role, their skills, their learning style, all of that.
Yes, all of it.
Okay, now all these initiatives, they sound great, but how can organizations measure whether they're actually effective? Now, how do you use data to optimize the hiring process?
Data analytics is really key here. Tracking things like time to hire, cost per hire, candidate satisfaction. That can give you some really valuable insight into what's working and what maybe needs some tweaking.
So moving beyond gut feeling,
Absolutely.
using data to make informed decisions.
You've got to measure.
Measure, yeah,
Yeah.
what matters. Now, we talked about predictive analytics earlier. That seems to be a pretty big game changer when it comes to hiring.
Huge.
So how can organizations actually use predictive analytics in a practical way?
Well, by analyzing historical data, organizations can, anticipate future hiring needs
Okay.
and then potentially identify, candidates proactively.
Okay, so again, you're one step ahead, which in this kind of talent market,
Yeah.
that's going to be a huge advantage.
It is.
Now, through all this talk about data and technology, and
Yeah.
we've talked about this a little bit already, but I want to come back to it. The human element,
Right.
creating a positive candidate experience, employee well-being.
Huge.
How do you create that workplace where people feel supported and valued and really want to be there?
It's about recognizing that employee well-being is really intrinsically linked to productivity, to engagement, to retention. It's about creating that environment where people, they feel supported, they feel valued, they feel empowered to bring their best selves to work.
So it's more than just, perks and benefits.
It's about culture.
It's about creating a culture of well-being, of belonging, of purpose.
Absolutely. So flexible work arrangements, comprehensive wellness programs, and a culture of open communication. These are all crucial.
Yeah, and these are things that candidates are looking for now.
For sure.
It's not just about the job itself.
Right. It's the entire experience.
It's the whole package.
Whole packet.
Okay, and then finally, we talked about this in the first segment as well, but it seems like sustainability, ethical practices, those are also becoming increasingly important.
Yeah, candidates are really, especially younger generations,
Yeah.
they're looking for organizations that align with their values.
Yeah, they want to work for companies that are doing good in the world.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about saying it.
No.
You've got to demonstrate it.
Walk the walk.
Walk the walk.
Yeah.
Okay, so integrating sustainable practices into all aspects of your business,
From the beginning to the end.
being transparent,
Yes.
accountable in your decision-making.
Absolutely.
I think that's really what shows that you're truly committed to these values.
It does.
Okay, Louisa, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful. You've really painted a clear picture of the trends that are shaping the future of hiring. And I think one of the key takeaways here is that it's not just about finding the right people for the job anymore.
Right.
It's about creating a workplace where people feel valued, empowered, and inspired to
Of
contribute.
creating a culture of purpose, growth, well-being.
A place where people can thrive,
Exactly.
both personally and professionally.
And that's exciting.
It is exciting. It really is exciting. Okay, so this has been a great conversation, but before we wrap up completely,
Mm-hmm.
I want to come back to one thing we touched on earlier, and that's the whole gig economy piece.
Right.
Because I think it's such a significant shift in the world of work.
It is.
And it deserves maybe a little bit of a deeper dive.
I agree.
So, more and more people are choosing to freelance, to do contract work.
Yeah.
The traditional 9 to 5, it's not as appealing to everybody.
Not anymore.
How can organizations adapt to this
Yeah.
and really, tap into this pool of talent?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that freelance workers, they're not just temporary fillers.
Right.
They're skilled professionals.
Yeah.
They can just unique perspectives and expertise.
They're valuable assets.
They are.
Mhm.
And they deserve to be treated with respect and professionalism, just like any other member of your team.
So what are some of the key things that organizations need to keep in mind when working with freelancers?
Well, you know, offering flexible contracts,
Okay.
um, providing clear project scopes,
Mhm.
ensuring timely payment.
So the basics.
The basics, but they're so important.
Yeah.
It's about building that mutually beneficial and respectful working relationship,
Right.
and then thinking about how you integrate them into your teams, your workflows.
Yeah.
Make sure they have the resources, the support.
Seamless integration.
Seamless integration, yes.
There's that phrase again.
Right.
So organizations that can figure this out,
They have an advantage.
they have a huge advantage.
It's about embracing a more agile approach
Mhm.
to workforce management.
Right.
And moving away from this mindset of, freelancers are just a temporary solution.
Yeah.
They're valuable long-term partners.
Long-term partners, yeah. Okay, this has been an incredible exploration of the future of hiring. I really appreciate your insights, Louisa. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into the future of hiring, I think one thing that's really become clear is that, it's not just about filling positions anymore.
Right. It's about so much more than that.
We've talked about data, AI, the changing nature of work, but I keep coming back to this human element.
It's essential.
And it feels like that's what really makes the difference between, just hiring someone and actually building a thriving workplace.
It's about understanding what motivates people, what are their aspirations, how do we create a workplace that aligns with their values.
It's about, fostering that sense of belonging, making sure that people feel seen and heard and appreciated.
Absolutely. And recognizing that the future of work, there's no one-size-fits-all model anymore. People
Right.
are looking for flexibility, autonomy, continuous learning. They want opportunities to grow.
And it seems like the organizations that get this, that really adapt to these evolving expectations, they're the ones that are going to come out on top.
They're the ones that are going to attract and retain top talent, for
Right.
sure.
So, Louisa, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of hiring. We hope it's given you some things to think about, maybe some ideas to take back to your own organizations. And we'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to connect with us on social media and keep the conversation going.